Well, the Pirates have a big game coming up on Thursday night, Bank of America Stadium. And Kyle, I tell you what, we're very excited to have with us now play-by-play voice of the Mountaineers, our good friend Adam Witten. Adam, so glad for you to join us tonight.
Yeah, Dave, Kyle, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Really looking forward to Thursday night. This will be my first experience with an App State ECU game, and it's been several years since they played, and man, I can't wait to get this thing going.
Adam, last time the two teams played was 2012 in Greenville. It was a close game going into the fourth, and the Pirates pulled away. But a lot of things have changed since 2012. Obviously, the move up to FBS into the Sun Belt Conference for Appalachian. You guys have been on a roll over the last several years, and the Pirates have kind of gone the other direction, not playing such good football over the last 5, 6, 7 years. I think we're starting to turn the corner and trend up, but App State is rolling.
Yeah, it has been a great string of success. I mean, we're really kind of in a golden age of App State football with the amount of success they've had in the Sun Belt Conference, 4 conference titles in 7 years, and 6 straight bowl victories. I mean, it's been, we don't take it for granted, I'll tell you that much, because ECU's got the same kind of football tradition, and I know in the last 6 years have been tough on Pirate fans, but most of them know that they've got a tradition of winning, and they expect to be at that same level. The one thing I hope that has changed since 2012 is the temperature for this game. The thing that our fans talk about more than anything with that 2012 game in Greenville is just how brutally hot it was. That's the hottest game that any of our fans have ever attended, that game in 2012. And so, it looks like the weather's going to move past us from the remnants of the hurricane. And so I think we'll have a nice night on Thursday. But you're right. It really has been a great stretch for this program. And I really do think ECU is starting to turn the corner. And our coaches do as well. They point back to the way the Pirates finished the season despite only 3 wins. The fact that they beat Temple pretty badly, and then they beat a pretty good SMU team at the end of the season. They know that they're teed up to really turn the corner, like you said, coming into this season, year 3 for Mike Houston.
Hey, Kyle, you're the staff meteorologist. I believe, a little sidebar real quick, I believe that's the hottest kickoff I can ever remember. I think it was about 95 degrees. So it was a noon kickoff.
I think we have had hotter actual temperature kickoffs, Dave, but the heat index that day was like 112, and it was brutal. That 2012 game was, I've told the story, Dave, where people were leaving the stadium one after another. We were selling 1-liter bottles of water, and I would go and grab a half-strength bottle of water just as somebody left and pour it over my head and just to cool off. And I wouldn't do that in 2021, obviously, for obvious reasons. But I did it at the time, and it was brutal. But Thursday, 79 degrees forecast high, at least for where I live. So that's beautiful.
Yeah. It's I wasn't at that game in 2012, but that's the thing that people talk about more than anything from that day. It's just they hope they never have to experience a football game that's that hot ever again.
Yeah. There was like 400 people that were carried out of the stadium that day. It was a lot of people. Adam, the heat exhaustion, and some of it was because, unfortunately, they were not smart enough to know. I'm sure a lot of Pirate fans that if you drink a lot of alcohol and heat, it doesn't mix too well.
Not a good combo.
Yeah, we'll leave 2012 and get back into 2021, Adam. Coach Houston said the other day in one of his post-practice interviews, he said he looked at the schedule, when he got here, games down the road, and kind of looked at rosters, and he said he remembers thinking, oh, we might be catching App State at a good time. They're going to be really young in 21, but then COVID happened, and now App State's got a lot of super seniors. So what would have been a young football team is an extremely experienced football team. Talk about all the experience and depth you guys have this year.
Yeah, it's a really great point. If you look particularly on the offensive side of the ball, you've got one of our top offensive linemen in Bear Hunter. He's made the move over to center. He's one of the captains there. He's a super senior and really kind of the cornerstone of that offensive line. You've got three wide receivers, our top three wide receivers, are really four that are all super seniors, and Corey Sutton, Thomas Hennigan, Malik Williams, and Jalen Virgil. And then, he's not a super senior. He's more of a grad transfer, but Chase Bryce at quarterback. So our starting punter is a super senior. Our place kicker is a super senior. On defense, Demetrius Taylor, our best edge rusher on the line, is a super senior. You got them across the board on both sides of the ball. So you're right. I mean, in a year when you would have some big names that Apple was going to have to replace this year, you certainly don't have as many. And they're really stacked at a lot of positions because of so many guys that decided to go ahead and take that extra year that was given to them. And I'm really excited to see how it's all going to work out. So, yeah, it's quite the stacked roster, but a lot of teams are in that position. I mean, it's tough, guys, to really judge teams this year based on how many people are coming back. We used to kind of project how teams would be based on how many starters they had returning, but there's so many teams that have double-digit starters coming back on either side of the ball. It's really tough to judge. So experience is going to be something that's in the favor of a lot of teams. App is not unique in that way, but certainly they're going to benefit from a lot of talent coming back and being able to really give a shot in the arm to this team at the beginning of the year.
You mentioned the quarterback, Chase Bryce, transferring in. Talk about him. How's he looked during fall camp? How is he acclimated to the offense?
He's fit in really well. He's fit in really, really well. You can definitely see when you watch him in fall camp, why he ended up at a place like Clemson to start his career and why he's been around the ACC before he came to App. He definitely has that makeup, and he definitely has the skill set of a big-time quarterback. He's got a very live arm, can fit the ball into tight spaces, anticipates really well, and he's got that knack that's really just hard to teach, but can separate the good from the great quarterbacks. He's got that knack to kind of throw guys open, where somebody's running a route and you got someone blanketing him, and he puts the ball right on the money just as they make their break in the exact right spot. He's got that capability. Certainly his numbers weren't great from Duke. Way too many interceptions in the year last year, and he doesn't hide from that. He knows that was an issue, and he knows he's got to cut down on that. But the good thing is that an offense like App, and especially with so many weapons around him, you're not going to ever ask the quarterback at App State to do too much, to carry the offense. And so Chase is going to be able to use his strengths. They're not going to have him they're not going to put him in positions where he's uncomfortable and having to throw the ball maybe more times than they want. And so, because of that, I think that he'll be a great weapon at quarterback just because he can really stretch the field when they need to, because that's the only way App can get its offense going the way that it wants to, is if it also has a vertical threat. And Chase Bryce has the arm to be able to provide that.
And there's no question about it that I think that was you beat me to the punch there, Adam. I was going to ask you, was it the case with Duke having such a bad football team last year, the fact that he was trying to do too much, and when you try to do too much, he was trying to make things happen that you could argue that were not there when it comes to the eyes of a quarterback? It's easy for us to say that when we're fans, members of the media, we're sitting back watching the game, and when I know the offensive line was bad at Duke last year, so when you have a case like that, when you have nobody protecting you, and you're literally like running for your life, it's easy for us to make those assumptions, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot. If you listen to, if people are looking at it on the surface, looking at it on paper, and they see, oh man, Chase Bryce, he had a terrible year last year. I don't know how that's going to work out at App, and that's not really understanding the whole story. And I think he's just coming into a situation that's going to be better suited for him and his abilities. I'm really excited about App's got a new offensive coordinator this year in Frank Ponce, who was the passing game coordinator when Scott Satterfield was here as the head coach. He's now back as the OC, and he's a quarterback guy. That's his expertise when it comes to offense, and he's given Chase Bryce rave review. He's so excited to work with that guy and really let him kind of let loose on the things that he's good at. And I think he's going to really bring a big spark to this offense with some traits and characteristics that maybe we haven't had in the past with at that position.
You mentioned Craig Potts coming over as offensive coordinator. He was there before under Satterfield with Satterfield of Louisville. How do you expect the offense to be different this year than it was last year under Peterson?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, in 2016 through 2018, both Sean Clark and Frank Ponce were on the offensive staff, and they were co-offensive coordinators. And Sean Clark did the run game, coaching the offensive line, and Frank Ponce coached the passing game as a co-offensive coordinator, and he was the QB coach. So they've worked together. They've designed offenses together, and so they're very much of the same mind in terms of how this offense will look. I don't think they're never gonna get away from what they've been the last several years. It's very much predicated on zone blocking schemes, stretch plays. Use the run as the foundation of the offense. Try to control the clock, keep the defense fresh, pick your spots in the passing game. And so, I don't think you'll see this offense be very different from what it was last year. I just think now you've got a lot more at the wide receiver position. You're healthy at the wide receiver position. You had an actual fall camp and an off season to train the way that you're supposed to going into the year. So this offense may be able to do more than it did last year. We may see some new wrinkles. I think that's a lot because of personnel, depth, health, a full off season, and maybe utilizing some things with Chase Bryce that can do some different stuff on the offense. But Frank Ponce is not coming in here to change a lot. He'll put his own thumbprint on it in certain ways because he's the guy calling the plays now. But he and Clark have been on the same offensive staff, kind of coordinating things together with Scott Satterfield. So it's not like we're bringing somebody completely out of left field to be in charge of this offense.
Last year, Appalachian had one of the best defenses in America statistically. I can't remember how many points you gave up per game, but it wasn't many. The Mountaineers have pretty much everybody back on that side of the ball. So just talk about the expectations from Appalachian's defense for this year.
Yeah, I'm really excited and very anxious to see what this defense is capable of this year. You mentioned they were good last year. They held teams to in most cases under 20 points, and this year they bring so much back, and with super seniors like Demetrius Taylor coming back, to Caleb Sperlin on that defensive line as well. They've developed depth. They've recruited so well, and there's guys that are just growing into new roles now and getting a little bit older. DeMarco Jackson is as good as it comes at the inside linebacker position. Brendan Harrington has taken a huge leap in his career after a big season a year ago. The biggest thing I think that we were waiting to see is how is the secondary going to shake out, because one of the biggest losses on the defense was Shamar Jean-Charles. He was drafted by the Green Bay Packers back in the spring, and he was their best corner a year ago. And so Sean Jolly is still in there. He was an All-American 2 years ago. But who's going to be able to come in and take over that other corner on the other side? We're looking at Stephen Jones. They brought in a transfer from Wisconsin named Madison Cone, who's going to have a chance to make an impact in the secondary, and battling some injuries in the secondary as well in the preseason. So that's probably the area that I think that you might have a question about. I don't know if question is the right word. Just you want to kind of wait and see how they're going to perform. But everything in that front seven is pretty much back from what it was a year ago, and they're only bigger, stronger, faster than they were a year ago. So, as always, Appalachian has very high expectations for its defense.
Adam, when it comes to speaking of the defense, I know that Athlon Sports, where they give when they give Appalachian State the slight advantage, of course, is with the defense. And in fact, they have the Mountaineers winning 41-37, I saw. So the spread right now is 10.5. Do you think that's going to stay the same over the next couple of days?
I don't know that it'll change much. I mean, I think ever since it first came out, it's been going down. And I think it got as low as 10. And I guess based on what you're saying, it's up to 10.5 right now. 41-37. That's a big number. I think I saw that the over/under was like 59.5.
Yeah.
So I got asked this question on an interview over the weekend, and I said I would be a little surprised if this game went over that mark, just because I think both teams have strong defenses. I mean, I have a hard time seeing App give up a lot of points to anybody. ECU is certainly capable of putting up a lot of points, but App is not a team that has to score 30, 40 points to win. They would much prefer to win a game 28-14 and control the clock and shorten the number of possessions, use that running game, wear down a defense. If they've got to try to put up a lot of points, they're capable, but if App is able to control the tempo of this game, I don't see it very high scoring. I think if it is high scoring, it's because ECU is busting big plays. Maybe they're getting something in return game from Snead, and maybe there's just some game-breaking turnovers that can lead to some easy scores. But for me, if I'm predicting, I look at this as being much lower scoring than 41-37.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I kind of analyzing the game. You got a quarterback there, while he's experienced, he was prone to turning the ball over. When you got the kind of running game App State does, you got the kind of line, returning running backs. To me, you don't put pressure on that kid in game one. You let him pick his spots and rely on the running game if it's there. And I think East Carolina, I think we want to be very balanced on offense. We should have a strong running game, and obviously Holt Naylor's a quarterback, so I think we'll be balanced. With App State's defense being what it is, I'm kind of with you. I look for a 28-21 type ball game in somebody's favor. As far as lines go, 10.5 points. It's kind of funny when talking to East Carolina fans, and then we'll start to wrap this up. But talking to East Carolina fans, we look at the first two games as Appalachian and South Carolina, and a lot of people will see that SEC school in South Carolina in game two, and I think that's the harder opponent. Not so. I think this game against Appalachian is the much tougher of the two opponents. I think I like our chances a lot to upset the Gamecocks. I'm hopeful against Appalachian. I'm hopeful. Whereas South Carolina, I'm expecting an upset.
Yeah, it's I tend to agree with you. I mean, App beat South Carolina 2 years ago in Columbia, and I realized they were both much different programs 2 years ago. But South Carolina's just getting started with Shane Beamer. They're clearly in a kind of a rebuilding mode, and so yeah, I think that I don't think either team's looking past this one at all. Either fan base. The teams aren't looking past it. I mean, they're drilled into their head to make sure to take it one game at a time. But I don't think either fan base is looking past this.
No, you got App State has who in week 2? You guys have a big opponent.
Miami.
Week 2
yeah, App's going down to Miami in week 2, and East Carolina is facing an SEC opponent. So each team has kind of a high-profile game after this one. But this game means so much in the state and in both fan bases, and again, the East versus West dynamic in a neutral site in Charlotte. This game has everything you could want for an intrastate battle between these two, storied programs. And these fans are so jacked up for this one. They'll turn the page when it's time for week 2. But man, both fan bases really want this one. For App to continue to maybe notch another victory over an in-state opponent. And then for ECU to maybe try to prove that it is turning the corner in year 3 under Mike Houston. A win over App would be a great way to start that off.
No doubt about it. Big game on Thursday night, Bank of America Stadium, 7:30 on ESPNU. And for the fans, how can they listen to you, Adam? What's the best place we could catch the game on Thursday?
Yeah, sure. So our flagship station is the best way to find us, 97.3 FM. For folks out of our listening area, you can find us at appstatesports.com. We've got the brand new Varsity Network app that you can actually download for free and listen to both the App State or the East Carolina broadcast. Listen to Jeff Charles and the gang on that. So, yeah, it's a lot of different ways to listen to us, and I just appreciate you guys having me on. I always enjoy talking to y'all at the start of the football season, even more so this year because it's App ECU to kick it off.
It's going to be great. Good luck to the Mountaineers. We'll see how it turns out Thursday nights, and I'd love to have you back on sometime during the season, my friend. Always love talking football with you.
Anytime, guys. I appreciate it.
All right.